Repentless from 2015 as number 37. Yeah, makes sense. I'm not surprised by this one, actually. It was the second to last Slayer album. The one after this would be World Painted Blood, which was far better. This one was just okay. Again, Slayer. This wasn't a bad album, but it wasn't good either. I definitely would prefer this over that Dio Musica or whatever that new metal album Slayer did was called. At number 36, we have Death Magnetic. Yep, again, understandable that it's only number 36 because, there were some poor mixing choices. Metallica was like the biggest metal band in the world at this point. They were very rich, but for some reason had a very poor budget for the album, and it was just not mixed well. The snare drum problem was fixed, though. So the drums are tolerable again. Kirk actually had some solos. James's voice actually sounds good. There was just a lot of clipping. Like, if you listen to Death Magnetic, you could tell that the album kind of, clipped and, snapped a little bit. There was definitely a little bit of problems there, and sometimes the instruments would be louder than James's vocals, or James's vocals would be too loud. It was definitely some odd mixing choices, but aside from the mixing choices, there were some good songs on here. The Unforgiven 3, The Day That Never Comes. So there were some good stuff on here. There were actually some good songs, especially The Day That Never Comes. I love that song. Let's move down. World Painted Blood. Yeah, this is fair. But I would say it's a good Slayer album, though. It's a good way to go out, though. Great way to go out. And honestly, it makes sense for the placement it's at because, we have 35 more albums, and Slayer obviously had... all the other Slayer albums on this list are pretty good, like the ones that are left. So I can understand. World Painted Blood, though good, and it's a great closer album, and it's got great material, it's the weakest compared to the other Slayer albums on this list. So I understand, and we've already gone over the really bad Slayer albums already, so I can understand. I'm not going to complain about the placement here. Loudwire says the songs felt a little too self-aware. I disagree. I don't really get that vibe from this album. I actually think it's pretty good. Even though I agree with their placement on the list for it, I don't agree with their comment, really. I would at least call this album a middle album. That's fair. I would call it a good album, but if they just said it was mid, I would be satisfied with that. I disagree. I don't think it was too self-aware. I think it was good material. Number 34, we have The System Has Failed. Honestly, I would put Killing Is My Business or So Far, So Good, So What in this spot instead at number 34. Because So Far, So Good, So What is like Megadeth's version of Death Magnetic, where there was an odd mixing choice. Or I would put Killing Is My Business here because there was not good mixing quality, and sometimes instruments would be too loud, and you could barely hear Mustaine's voice sometimes on Killing Is My Business in some of the songs. I would definitely say that Killing Is My Business is more deserving of this spot, to be fair. Or even I'd be satisfied if you put Cryptic Writings because it was a more radio-friendly album. This is just... System Has Failed is just too good to be number 34, in my opinion. I think it's actually a pretty good album. I disagree with the 34 placement. What do they think of it? Hey, cool. Me and Loudwire actually do agree. They say it was a pretty promising comeback of an album. Had some pretty good guest musicians, including the return of Chris Poland. Yes, true. It was meant to be a Dave Mustaine solo album. Yes, correct. And they say that there were some promising songs. Kick the Chair, Blackmail the Universe, The Endearing of Mice and Men. Yeah, this is... We can actually agree, Loudwire. This is... The way they review The System Has Failed is very fair, in my opinion. At number 33, yeah, I'm not surprised. So Far, So Good, So What. I would have swapped the spots around, though, and put The System Has Failed at... Or the So Far, So Good, So What at 34, and The System Has Failed at 33. But there was some pretty good stuff on here. The instrumental Set the World Afire, Into the Lungs of Hell, also an instrumental. In My Darkest Hour, that tribute song to Cliff. Pretty good Megadeth album, but odd mixing choices, which is why I would put it at 34 instead. I should probably do a video where I make my own version of this list, because I do have some different opinions than Loudwire has. And honestly, Yeah. Maybe I have to listen to this album again. Maybe I will end up putting it at 34 when I give it another listen, because it has been a few months, I'd say. But right now, my impression of the album is that it's probably worse than The System Has Failed, all things considered. Megadeth has definitely had a controversial discography. Good releases, some are mid, some are bad. The album proves that they could stay consistent with their sound. Yes, that is true. They stayed consistent because we had Killing Is My Business and the Peace Sells album. My dogs are barking in the background. Okay, number 32, Slayer. Okay, let's see what we got here. Yeah, I would say that's the weakest of the 90s Slayer output. Seasons in the Abyss was a much better album. That new metal album they put out was worse, though. I think that was like 1999 or 98. But yeah, the other two 90s albums, yeah. See, I'm fine with this because Seasons in the Abyss is definitely way better. If they had put Seasons in the Abyss here, I would have been super pissed. But Divine Intervention, yeah, that's actually a fair placement for this one. I agree. But it's not even a bad album. They don't even say it's a bad album. They actually give it some compliments. So, yeah, fair placement. I'm not going to debate this one. At number 31, United Abominate. Really? I would have put Killing It. Now I really would have put Killing Is My Business at this spot. There's no way that you think United Abominations is worse than Megadeth's debut. There is no way that United Abominations is worse than there's no way that United Abominations is worse than albums like Cryptic Writings. There is no way. Cryptic Writings is far more mid. This is not fair at all. They should be putting Killing Is My Business or Cryptic Writings in this spot. That is not anywhere fucking fair. They did United Abominations fucking dirty. I don't even care that they give the album compliments. That's bullshit. Okay, let's scroll down the list before I get really mad. Number 31, Fistful of Metal. Oh, you finally bring it up, huh? You even compliment it. Why? You know what should really be in this spot? Sounds of White Noise, because it's actually pretty good. It was the best John Bush album. They should put Sounds of White Noise right here and put Fistful of Metal somewhere else lower on the list. And then leave, the top 20 albums or whatever to be like the really good 80s and modern Anthrax albums. No! Bullshit! It's their only album with Neil Turbin and is underrated? No! It is not underrated at all! People think it's mid because it is mid. I'm gonna lose my mind. This list is bullshit. Okay, okay. Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Okay. Finally, something fair. Hardwired is the weakest of the 2010s Metallica effort. It's the only one, but aside from when it's put up against 72 Seasons is a better album. Hardwired, this is a deserving spot. It brought Metallica back to form. It was a returns to form album, but still some things could have been improved on. So I do agree with this placement right here. Okay, I don't have to yell at Loudwire for this pick. Let's go down. Slayer fixed their problems with misguidedness. Yeah, they were definitely misguided with that new metal effort, but this follow-up is a lot better. God Hates Us All has some actually good material. I really like God Hates Us All. It's actually a pretty good album. Good writing, good lyrics, good playing. All around a good Slayer album. Not the best, most perfect Slayer album, but definitely a solid Slayer album. I can definitely agree with the placement here because there are only a few more Slayer albums left, and they're all some of their best, like Show No Mercy, Hell Awaits, Rain and Blood, South of Heaven, Seasons in the Abyss, things like that. Yeah, definitely agree. Dystopia. Okay. I personally would have put Cryptic Writings here because Cryptic Writings only had a handful of good songs where I feel like Dystopia was pretty solid. You had Poisonous Shadows, The Threat Is Real, the title track Dystopia. even some good bonus tracks if you have like if you're able to find on YouTube like the Japanese bonus tracks or whatever. Dystopia is definitely, I think, a lot more solid of an album. And that Cryptic Writings should probably be in this spot. Or again, Killing Is My Business should be here. Why is it? There's no way you think that Dystopia is worse than Killing Is My Business. Are you guys like, have you taken crazy pills when you made this list? I can't be the only metal fan. I can't be the only Megadeth fan who feels betrayed by this list. I feel betrayed. I feel disgusted that they are considered one of the world's biggest metal publications. Their rankings sometimes suck. Oh, but they're going to compliment the lineup. Yeah, Chris Adler, Chris Adler is on this album, and it deserves to be higher. Chris Adler is an amazing drummer. This album should be higher. 27. No. Fuck you. Endgame is at... No, fuck you. Killing Is My Business is not worse than Endgame. If you thought I was mad about the United Abominations placement, I'm even more angry. Endgame is better than United Abominations. Yes, it is. I agree. The fact that you put Endgame above United Abominations is good. But you failed. You are putting this below Cryptic Writings and Killing Is My Business, which haven't even appeared on the list yet. You have failed me. I am literally pissed off right now. I can't. I need a nap after this list. I don't know how much longer I can be betrayed by a metal publication. Yep. Pretty solid placement. I agree with this being number 25. And no comment, really. Number 24. 25. Finally, there it is. I can't believe all the compliments they're giving this album. I just cannot right now. The only compliment I can think of is how fast Mechanics is. It is a freaking beast. I can compliment the riff for these boots. Their cover of These Boots Are Made for Walking. That whole riff, where like that riff that they have for These Boots. That I like. But those are the only two. And The Skull Beneath the Skin, pretty good instrumentation. The instrumentation on this album is actually pretty solid, but the mixing brings the album down. What do you not get about that? Again, this is where you should have put, like, Endgame. He's here in, like, number 24, 23, whatever spot this is. Not Killing Is My Business. Or I'm glad they're going to put Cryptic Writings above this album, because Cryptic Writings is better. But oh my God, you're killing me. They're even giving compliments to the album. These compliments are valid, but the placement's bad. Like, yes, Dave Mustaine was Out for Blood, and these songs are superior instrument-wise to those on Kill 'Em All. But mixing-wise, they are not superior. Wait. Oh my God. Sounds of White Noise. Okay, yeah, this is valid. It's the best John Bush album. It's good. I like it. Pretty much every song on it is good. And I'm glad that the other Anthrax albums are going to be above this album. This is valid. Okay. Anthrax, Worship Music. Yeah, I'd say it's the weakest of the 2010s output. For All Kings is definitely a better Anthrax album. But I do like the song The Constant on here. There were even rumors that they were going to have Corey Taylor be the next singer of Anthrax, but then the guy from the 80s came back. But jeez, this is good placement. This is actually pretty good. Again, I can't argue with the placement for Worship Music. 72 Seasons. Yeah, actually good placement, because the other Metallica albums left are the Four Giants in the 80s and the Black Album. So yes, this is actually pretty fair placement right here. I can actually support 72 Seasons being at, what is it, number 21, and I think that's fair. Yes, this album is a lot to digest, like Loudwire said, but once you do digest it, it is pretty solid. At number 20, we have The Sick, The Dying, and The Dead. Yeah, pretty good placement. It's better than Dystopia for sure. It's got some great stuff. That like lead single, "We Will Be Back," like blew everyone out of the water when it came back. It was fat when Megadeth kindly returned because it had been 6 years since new Megadeth. And it was fast, it was aggressive, it was in your face. There was so much energy pumping through it. And this whole album just reminds you of different eras of Megadeth. There are some songs that could remind you of songs that were on like Peace Cells and Aggression. And my dogs are barking again. And I don't have a good mic to edit it out. Jesus Christ, will they stop? Yeah, this is definitely a great album, and I agree. And Mission to Mars was great. People didn't really like that. I will say the Sammy Hagar cover featuring Sammy Hagar was a little bit of stupid. Like, why would you feature the artist you're covering on a cover? It just doesn't make sense to me. But here, let's go down. Number 19, Cryptic Writings. Honestly, this should be above Killing Is My Business. I cannot believe that Cryptic Writings is actually considered better than Killing Is My Business. I just cannot. I can't believe that. But there is good material in here. Trust, Use the Man, She-Wolf. All very solid. Loudwire does point out the album's a little uneven because there's some metal stuff and then some lighter stuff. I will say there is a little bit of unevenness, but if you like, some radio metal and then you like some heavy metal, then you can have some real enjoyment with this album. Like, I have some real enjoyment with this album because I like how it's a change of pace. Each song is very different than the last, which I can appreciate. So, honestly, I think that Cryptic Writings is actually a pretty good Megadeth album. At number 18, we have For All Kings. Yeah, this was the most recent Anthrax album, and it's good. It's actually really good. I would actually say it's the best modern Anthrax album since Sounds of White Noise. I'd say the last time Anthrax was this good was in like 1990, 91 when they did that first John Bush album. That was like the last time Anthrax was like this good. We had to wait like almost a little over 2 decades for Anthrax to really be this good. And honestly, it was good. It wasn't worth the wait though. I feel like we had to get through a bunch of shit releases by Anthrax before we actually really got this good release. So that is a little disappointing, but hey, we got a good release in 2016. Actually, it was a release of 3 out of the big 4 bands put out albums. Hardwired to Self-Destruct by Metallica, we had Megadeth's Dystopia, we had Anthrax's For All Kings. We would have had a perfect lineup of everyone in the big 4 putting out an album if we had had Slayer put out an album that year. I don't think we've ever had like everyone in the big 4 put out an album in the same year. I wish we could, because that would actually be really cool. If we had a year where like everyone in the big 4 participated, that would be kind of cool. We should shoot for that. If Slayer ever comes out of retirement, because all the other big 3 bands are active, I want there to be a time this decade, if Slayer comes out of retirement, which they probably won't, to just like have everyone in the big 4 put out an album in the same year. Maybe even in the same day. You could do it like as a big release, like a celebration of the big 4, where like everyone in the big 4 puts out an album. I think that on the same day, that would actually be very cool. I think it'd be a cool promotional shtick. But let's move on here. Euthanasia. Yeah, valid. I would say Euthanasia is the weakest of the radio metal albums. Countdown to Extinction's better. But it's definitely better than Cryptic Writings and Risk. So I shouldn't say it's the weakest of the radio metal era, but like out of the big 2 radio ones, Countdown to Extinction and Euthanasia, Euthanasia is the weakest option, but it's definitely not a weak effort. It's only the weakest by the standard, but not weak at all. This album has Trains of Consequences, Atu Le Mans, The Killing Road, Family Tree. It has so many bangers on this album. Addicted to Chaos. There's no way that you can actually call this a bad Megadeth release. This is a masterpiece of a Megadeth album, and you cannot convince me otherwise. This, Countdown to Extinction, Rust in Peace, and Peace Cells are like just prime Megadeth. You cannot convince me otherwise on those records. And I'm glad to see them also complimenting it. Good job, Loudwire. Number 16, Show No Mercy by Slayer. Yeah. I would say that this is the second best debut album of the big 4. The only debut album better was Kill 'Em All, but Show No Mercy, great pick for Slayer. I definitely agree that Show No Mercy belongs right where it is. Number 15, the Black Album. Yeah, fair. Every track on here is good. Enter Sandman, Sad But True, The Unforgiven, Of Woven Man, my personal favorite, The God That Failed, Nothing Else Matters. Everything on here is amazing. In fact, I don't think there's I don't think there's a skippable song on this album. The God That Failed is my personal favorite. I could listen to The God That Failed every day. This is perfect. Perfect album right there. Might be radio friendly, but it's perfect. Number 14, Hell Awaits by Slayer. Again, now the list is actually starting to look like actually good. Some things need to be moved around, but here I'm actually satisfied. Show No Mercy is an amazing pick. I agree. All good songs here. All good. I think there's only like one skippable song on here. The rest of this is all good. Number 13, Anthrax, Spreading the Disease. Yes. Good album. The only album that can beat this is Among the Living, which I assume they're putting as the best Anthrax album on here, but this is still strong. This is almost just as strong as Spreading the Disease. In fact, I think Among the Living and Spreading the Disease both don't have any skippable songs. It's just Among the Living is stronger. But honestly, both are masterpieces. Let's move down to number 13. Here we are. I forgot about Persistence of Time, actually. This one's also pretty good. Like Sounds of White Noise. This is actually... I didn't think there were two good... Was this a John Bush album? I think it was. And no, I don't think it was. I think this was when the other singer was still in the band. I gotta look it up. But this was... From what I remember, there were some pretty solid songs on here. I would say that Spreading the Disease is better, though. I'm not going to debate, like, the placement this time around, but I will say that, like, definitely I think that this could have been switched with Spreading the Disease. Spreading the Disease could have been at number 12. Let's move down. Number 11, Countdown to Extinction. Yes, masterpiece, sir. No skippable songs here. From Skin on My Teeth to Ashes in Your Mouth. Everything on here is great. Skin on My Teeth, Symphony of Destruction, Arbiter of Aggression, Foreclosure of a Dream, Sweating Bullets, Countdown to Extinction, the bonus track Crown of Worms that they would put out a few years later. Everything on here, just perfect. This is like Megadeth's version of the Black Album, and it shows that they took inspiration from the Black Album. The songwriting is strong. Everything on here is just great, especially my personal favorite, Arbiter of Aggression, which just opens up with that blazing gun intro and that just that very urgent riff. This is an amazing, amazing album. I cannot think of a better radio metal album right now. Justice for All, fair placement. In fact, this album actually features my favorite Metallica song ever recorded, which is Harvester of Sorrow, but there are so many good songs on here. The instrumental Dyer's Eve, Blackened, One, Harvester of Sorrow. So many good songs on here. I just cannot get over this album. This one's great. The title track, Injustice for All. Everything on here, just amazing work. Number 9, Kill 'Em All. Okay, yeah. Solid placement. I think number 9 is the perfect place for this, because Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets are better albums. This is perfect. Honestly, I would have put Injustice for All in this spot, though, and put Kill 'Em All at 10, because I do think that Injustice for All is slightly better than Kill 'Em All. I know people are going to tear me apart for that, but that's how I feel. Number 8, let's go with... Okay, here we go. Now we're cooking again. South of Heaven. Masterpiece. No skippable songs. Slayer had a streak where they had nothing but good albums. They had Rain and Blood, South of Heaven, and Seasons in the Abyss. Like 3 masterpiece albums. I've noticed that Metallica, Megadeth, and Slayer all have like 3 masterpieces. Metallica has like 4 technically. They have Kill 'Em All up to the Black Album. They have 5 in a row masterpieces. Megadeth has 3 masterpieces. They have Peace Sells, Rust in Peace, and Countdown to Extinction. And then Slayer has these 3. Those 3, Rain and Blood, Seasons in the Abyss, South of Heaven, right? And then Anthrax has, I would say, 2 masterpieces. So each band of the Big 4 has at least like 2 or 3 masterpieces under their belt. And this is definitely one of Slayer's. I would say their masterpiece is Rain and Blood. And I would say this is the third masterpiece out of the rank. Piece sells, but who's buying? Yes, sir. Let's go. Everything on here is great. Wake Up Dead, Devil's Island, Peace Sells, Good Morning Black Friday, even the cover My Last Words. That bass line with David Ellefson on Peace Sells. Too good. Masterpiece, sir. Just masterpiece. And I'm glad Loudwire agrees. Slayer's Seasons in the Abyss in number 6. Yes, sir. You bet. Damn right. Damn right, it's number 6. It's a masterpiece. No skippable songs. Number 5, Ride the Lightning. All right. Pretty good placement here. Now all that's left from Metallica is Master of Puppets. This is perfect. This is a perfect placement for it, actually. Number 4, Among the Living by Anthrax. Yes! Yes! They nailed the placement. They nailed it. They've kind of been messing up the Anthrax placements lately. For the most of this list, but they did not fail me here. They put it at number 4, and the other 3 albums, which the only 3 left, are Master of Puppets, Rust in Peace, and Slayer's Reign in Blood, and I have a feeling they're going to rank them all wrong. But yes, Among the Living deserves to be at number 4. This is out of all the placements they've made, this is the most accurate. Like, I would definitely put Among the Living as the 4th best thrash album. This is right here, like, the perfect place. They didn't even... They nailed it. Number 3. Oh, hell no. This should be number 1. This list... No. You have failed. Rust in Peace is the magnum opus of thrash metal. Fuck off. Number 2. Rain in Blood. This should be above Master of Puppets. Master of Puppets should be number 3. Rain in Blood should be 2, because here's Master of Puppets. Right here. They always show favoritism. They always put Master of Puppets at number 1 on metal lists. But seriously, this is how it should go. At number 3, you should have Master of Puppets. This should be 3. This should be number 2. This should be number 1. So all they gotta do is literally put it in reverse. This should be 3, 2, 1. Literally all they do is to reverse the order of these final 3. They messed up here. You messed up. I cannot believe you. I cannot believe they messed that up. The only thing they got right out of the big 4 was this one. Among the Living being at number 4. They got that right. Bad. But yes, they're right that Rust in Peace is the best Megadeth album. They're right that Master of Puppets is the best Metallica album. They're right Reign of Blood's the best Slayer album. And they're right Among the Living is the best Anthrax album. But aside from that, this list has bombed. This list has been disappointing. It's been good in some places, disappointing in others. I'm sorry if I yelled a lot in this, but this was just terrible. This was... No, I don't want to click anything. It's making me click a link. See, I hate feel cool. So no more sweating all. It's an ad, of course. Okay, I'm done.
Or blast